Vipassana meditation is the practice of the mindfulness. Vipassana meditation is the practice of the mindfulness. So Vipassana meditation can be practiced in any posture, like in sitting posture also, standing posture also, walking posture also, and the lying posture also. In other daily activities also, whatever we do in our daily life, at that time also we can practice Vipassana meditation. But for the beginners, sitting meditation and the walking meditation is the best way of practicing the Vipassana. Hence, first here we will talk about the sitting meditation. To do sitting meditation, we have to choose the way of the sitting that is convenient for us, that is long lasting for us. If we will be moving, if we will be shifting or the changing our posture again and again, it will be difficult to develop concentration. So we must choose the convenient one. Cross leg sitting, the way of sitting by crossing the leg is the most convenient way for the most of the yogis. But however, when we sit down in a cross leg, two legs must not overlap each other. We can put one front and one at the back. You can put either right leg front or left leg. This is what most convenient for the most of the yogis. But if you think that this is not convenient for you, then you can choose the other sitting methods. After choosing the convenient sitting posture, we have to upright our body, we have to upright our head. Two hands can keep comfortably, some push two hands on the two knees, or better, you can put your left hand on the right hand on your lap. If you made the sitting posture comfortable, now you have to close your eyes. After closing your eyes, without making any thinking, you have to go directly, you have to pay attention directly to the abdomen. Your attention should be go directly to the abdomen. By paying attention on the belly, we have to try to see the movements of our abdomen. In order to see the movements of our abdomen, of course, we must focus. We must apply some energy. We must take interest to see that movements. Observing carefully. We have to observe very carefully. Then we will see that movements. That movements means when we breathe in, our abdomen rises, expands. When we breathe out, abdomen falls down or it contracts. Okay, let's try. Can we see these movements or not? How is it? Can you see new yogis? New yogis can see. Okay. Sometimes at the beginning of the practice, we may not see the rising and the falling. Though we apply energy, though we pay attention. If so, sometimes we can keep touching our hand with the abdomen as well. Okay, when we come to see the movements, the expanding process and the contracting process of our abdomen, now we have to note them. Noting means labeling or naming mentally. When it expands, we have to note rising. When it falls down, we have to note falling. And while we will be noting, so it should be concurrent at the same time. Oh, the rising process, the expanding process, and our labeling should be at the same time. The falling process and our labeling must be at the same time. Labeling must not be before or after rising and falling. It should be on the time of the rising and falling. If possible, we should try to follow from the very beginning of the rising to the end of the rising, and from the very beginning of the falling to the end of the falling. Okay, let's try to observe the rising and falling by labeling for a while. Okay, how is it? Could you level the rising and falling? Okay, so we have to keep on noting and labeling and also observing the rising and falling continuously because one after another the rising and falling process take place. So rising, falling. So continuously without any gap, we must observing and we must labeling. But however we keep trying to observe the rising and falling continuously, our mind will not keep observing the rising and falling long last. After a while, mind will start to wonder, mind will start to think, mind will start to plan. It will go here and there. That means now our mind is not anymore on the abdomen. So when you will realize that, oh, my mind is not anymore on the abdomen, is thinking or is planning or etc. When you realize that, those mind also must be noted. Like if it is thinking, you have to observe the thinking mind and should note thinking. If it is planning mind, then we have to focus and must note planning. Thinking, planning also must be noted, must be observed very carefully, energetically. Only then and they will stop thinking, they will stop planning, or they will disappear. If they stop thinking and planning, then again we have to return back to the abdomen. We have to focus back to the abdomen and must note again rising and falling. If we wouldn't note energetically, then it will last long. So must note it energetically, precisely. After returning back to the abdomen and while noting rising and falling, again if mind start to think, again if mind start to plan, again same thing should be done. We have to focus them, we have to apply energy, and we have to know thinking, planning, thinking, planning. If not only thinking and planning, sometimes might be remembering something. If you are remembering, then must not remembering. If wondering, then wondering. If our mind is approaching to our home, then approaching. Traveling somewhere, then traveling. Sometimes even maybe boring mind. If you are feeling bored, then feeling bored. If getting lazy, then getting lazy. If want to open the eyes, wanting to open the eyes. If you want to get up, wanting to get up. Sometimes happy mind also, if you are being happy. If you are feeling pleasure, then feeling pleasure. If you are enjoying, then enjoying. That means each and every mind that become obvious during the practice must be noted. After that, after sitting somewhere, the physical sensations, mostly unpleasant physical sensation also will occur in the different parts of the body. There will be pain, there will be aching, there will be itchiness, there will be prickling, numbness, and etc. When these unpleasant sensations will become obvious, then these sensations also must be noted. How do we note? Means we have to put our mind where the pain is, where the sensation is. We have to focus there. We have to pay attention, and we have to note. If it is pain, we have to note as pain. For example, there is a pain on the knee. So, if so, then we have to pay attention on the knee, and we have to focus, and we have to note as pain. By noting pain as pain, sometimes if our noting is effective, of course will decrease, of course will disappear. When it when it disappears, then return back to the abdomen. Again, note rising, falling. After returning back to the abdomen, if again arise some pain in another part or the same part, again focus there, again note pain as pain, aching as aching. So if it is pain, we have to note as pain. If it is aching, we have to note as aching. If it is prickling sensation, then we have to note as prickling. If it is itchiness, then we have to note itching. If it is numbness, then numbness. But mostly at the beginning of the practice, the more we observe the pain, the more the unpleasant sensation increases. So while they increase, we should not change our posture immediately. We must keep observing as long as we can. The more we keep observing those pain, the more our forbearance or the patient will develop. Our controlling power of the mind will be developing. So be patient. Be patient. Try to control your mind and keep observing those increasing pains as long as you can. If it becomes really unbearable, if you think that now you cannot be patient anymore, then of course we can change our posture. But before, we should not do it in rapidly, fastly. First, we have to note the intention to change, like intending to change. If you are moving your legs, then moving. If you are leaning the hands, then leaning. In this way, one by one, and by slowly, we have to observe and we have to note our process. After changing your posture, again, when you will be relaxed, return back to the abdomen and not again rising and falling. While practicing meditation, sometimes you may come to see some scenes, some images, some visual in your eyes also. If you come to see something without thinking, without analyzing anything, we have to just note seeing. Different kinds of sounds will be heard. So if you hear any sounds, you have to just note as hearing. We should not follow the sound and we should not think about the sound, but we have to just note as hearing. After noting, seeing, the seeing, hearing should not be noted for a long time. We have to just note it for a while, then immediately return back to the abdomen and not rising and falling. So that means if there is nothing to note or observe, we should keep trying to observe our abdomen. We should keep trying, we should keep observing rising and falling process continuously. And each and every time when we observe rising and falling, there must be labeling. The labeling should be concurrent at the same time, the time the rising and falling taking place. And we also need to try to follow. We should try to observe from the beginning of the rising to the end, beginning of the falling to the end. While observing this rising and falling, if thinking thoughts are there, observe them, note them. When we'll finish, return back. If pains are there, observe them, note them. When we'll finish, return back to the abdomen. If seeing, hearing is there, observe them, note them. If you finish, then return back to the abdomen. Okay, this is the brief instruction of how to practice sitting meditation. If you have any confusion, any misunderstanding, or any question, you may ask. Okay, if you have no question, let's learn how to do the walking meditation as well. Yes. So to do walking meditation also, we should keep our body upright. Our head also must be upright. You have to keep your two hands holding together. You can hold it front, you can hold it back. The most important thing during the walking meditation is your eyes, because if you will be looking here and there, it will be difficult to pay attention to the object of observation, so it should be kept controlled. How do we keep control means we will not look too far, we will not look too close, but we will look in front of us within 5 to 7 feet. Okay, now you are ready to walk. So there are the three methods of the walking meditation. The first method is observing or leveling one time in one step. When you move right step, you have to notice right step. When you move left step, you have to notice left step. That means you have to observe, not by your eyes, but by your mind. You have to observe your movements of your leg. When it moves, you have to observe it mentally, and you have to note as right and left as left. Like the rising and falling must be observed and labeled at the same time. Similarly, when we label right as right, left as left, it should be on time. Okay, let's see. Right step, 5. Left step, right step, 5. Left step, 5. Right step, 5. Left step, 5. Right step, 5. Left step, 5. Let's say you finish your distance. After you finish your distance, you have to stand up for a while. You have to observe your body and must not stand. So before turning, there will be the intention to turn. So that mind should be noted, intending to turn. Just 2 or 3 times. Then after turning, turning, turning. While turning, you have to observe your body, which is turning. When you finish to turn, again stand up for a while, observe your body mentally, and again make a note, standing. So again, before you step the legs, there is the intention mind to step, or there is intention to move forward. That mind also can be noted as wanting to step or wanting to move forward, not 2 or 3 times. Then again, right step, left step, right. But do not make your step too wide. If you make too wide, then before you put the first leg on the ground, the leg behind will be raised up automatically. So it will be difficult to observe the 2 legs. So do not make so wide. Put first, then another leg. And again, right step, 5, left step, 5, right step, 5. This side also, when you finish the walk, you have to do the same process. Standing, wanting to turn, then turning, 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 standing, wanting to walk, and again right leg. Okay, this is the first method of the walking meditation. For the beginners, it is better to practice this first method until you will develop concentration in this walking process. When you will become able to know this first method precisely, then you can choose the second method. Second method means now we have to note. We have to make two notes in a one step. There is the lifting process of the leg and the dropping process of the leg. That must be observed. Lifting process must be observed and the dropping process must be observed and must be noted as lifting and dropping as dropping. Okay, let's see. Lifting. Yeah. Dropping. There. Lifting. Yeah. Dropping. There. While you do lifting, dropping, it is not necessary to lift artificially like this, lifting high and dropping. It is not necessary to do. Just to differentiate the lifting and the dropping, just do it naturally. Yeah. And yeah. Dropping. Lifting. Dropping. And when you finish, other are same like we did in the first method, standing, 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 wanting to turn, wanting to turn, turning, 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 standing, 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 wanting to move, then again lifting, drop. This is the second method. So when you will be able to note the second method also precisely with focusing mind, you can choose the third. So third method is nothing much different, but you have to note the three times. Three process of the lifting process, moving process, and the dropping process. Now you label three process of the one sleep. But of course, you will need to walk more slowly. You will need to be more careful in order to note and observe the each lifting, each moving, and each dropping process. Okay, let's see lifting, yeah, moving, dropping, back, 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 lifting, moving, dropping. Other are things standing, 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 intending to turn, then turning, 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 standing, 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 wanting to move, and lifting, moving, and dropping process. So one more thing is like in sitting meditation, of course, we will not be able to observe these movements of the leg much long. Our mind will wander, there will be thinking mind, there will be planning mind. Of course, there will be. But the difference between the sitting and the walking is in sitting meditation when we realize that those thinking, planning, and so on, we have to focus them, we have to label them as they are. But in walking meditation, when you will realize that your mind is thinking, planning, or so on, you don't keep labeling them, you have to immediately return back to your movements of your leg and you have to try to continue to note your movements of your leg. But sometimes, however, you try to return back to the movements of the leg, but still the mind is keep running here and there. Then, of course, sometimes you can stand up for a while and you can note thinking, planning, When they stops, then when they stop, when they disappear, then again you can continue to walk. This is how we do walking meditation. If you have any question, you may ask. Okay? There is none.
See, have a question. Yeah. When in walking meditation, she keep the hand out front on the back, but for a long time the saddle will feel painful. So can she change the hand?
Yeah,
But
of course, we can change the hand posture also. Like when we come to stand up, when we finish our distance, now while we stand up, then while we'll be standing, we can note like wanting to change the hand, wanting to change the hand, then we can change, of course, why not?
and while the walking meditation, when painful like that, should she not the painful or just ignore them?
If can be ignored, just ignore them. If become very strong, and if you want to note, then while you will be standing, at that time you have to note, not while you are walking. Okay. Okay, I just mentioned that this Vipassana meditation is the practice of mindfulness we can practice in any activity. So we just mentioned about the sitting and the walking. So if you want to know, if you want to progress very fast, like in other activities also, like standing from a sitting, when you are going to sit down, at that time also, if you observe the sitting process, if you observe the standing up process, by doing slowly, it will be also the practice of meditation. In other activities, the most important thing is we have to do it slowly and we have to pay attention what we are doing. That will be the main thing to be able to observe, to be able to practice in the other daily activities. Okay, this is how we practice the Vipassana meditation. If you have any question, you may. Okay, then. Yes. Okay,
Thì bây giờ mình đã học phần sau.
you can walk, you can sit in the place.